Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 24th, and right now we're looking at the visible satellite imagery here, and I want to show you something that was going on yesterday. You might have seen it on social media. See that 7 out there, located out there near an area of high pressure here. So nothing too crazy with the atmosphere going on there, just some sinking air and just kind of lined up just right where it was kind of showing what looked like a 7 here. Human brains are good at detecting things like that, and you can see somebody was calling this a 6 as well as a 76. Kind of interesting out there, and the visible satellite imagery. Then you see the sunset come across the planet here, and then we go on into today, and you can see that frontal system and dropping down across Southeast Alaska, moving into BC as we speak. This can be swooping down the area, ushering in that pattern change we've been talking about for a while. You can see the cutoff low off the coast of California here as well. So let's dive into some of those details here. This is the visible satellite imagery. You can see some of the wave action here, some lenticular clouds probably apparent there on the east slopes of the Cascades of Washington. You can see Mount Rainier right there, and a little bit of gravity wave going downstream there also. And you can see it's still quite sunny across much of Oregon and some of southern Idaho right now as well. But that's going to be coming to an end here as we go through the day today and on into tomorrow. The frontal system moves from northwest to southeast here across the area. Now, looking here, windy Sunday afternoon and evening. This goes for much of the Intermountain West here as well, and through eastern Washington, Idaho. You got high wind watches and warnings all over the place. You got winter storm watches and warnings everywhere as well. Look at the period of strong winds through Monday for some of the areas out here across the Rocky Mountain Front Range. Look at this, 80 plus miles per hour is possible. So if you're heading on I-90 through Montana as you go on in through the day, really on through Sunday night through Monday, some huge winds out there. Watch out if you're driving a high-profile vehicle. You can see, it's going to be area wide here. Pretty impressive winds coming in. And you can see that does exist for eastern Washington as well. It could be even kind of a crosswind at times, or Highway 2 and I-90, some gusts up to 55 miles per hour, and, maybe even locally higher across the higher terrain of the Cascades as well. So heads up for that. This starts on Sunday PM here. Now, looking at the winter storm warning for the Cascades of Washington, it has been upgraded to that winter storm warning here. And you can see it includes all the way down towards the southern Washington Cascades. This will probably be upgraded across to Oregon and southern Washington Cascades as well as we go through the day today. So you can see they're expecting 4 a.m. Sunday to 4 p.m. Monday above 1,500 feet, 1 to 3 feet of snow. Winds gusting as high as 40 miles per hour. Locally will be higher, especially across exposed areas and some of the pass areas as well. Like Stevens Pass, probably going to be gusting up over 40 miles per hour at times as well. And now we're going to take a wider look at things here. We've been talking about this for a few days. This is 18,000 feet. You can see the polar lobes swinging down towards the Pacific Northwest. That's what's ushering in these very strong winds and the big mountain snows. And we're going to have that Pacific Ocean snow machine in full effect back into the mountain ranges here for the next couple of days. And also, we're not going to end it with just that. We're going to spill some very cold air out over the Gulf of Alaska. We're going to continue an active pattern, probably additional strong frontal systems rolling through here and deep lows spinning up over the Gulf of Alaska, throwing precipitation and potential mountain snow. And even there is a potential for some lower elevation snowfall as we go on into the next week. And we'll break that down day by day. We're not going to get too into those details just yet, but we will be watching it. Taking a look at the European 12Z. This is a hot off the presses versus yesterday afternoons here on the right. So I wanted to show you the winds here at about 2,500 feet and how that associates with the low pressure center that's coming down as we go through the day tomorrow. This is tomorrow evening. Look at the strong winds just roaring off of Southeast Alaska out over the Pacific Ocean, picking up that moisture, very cold air aloft, slamming back into the mountain ranges, and that could be causing some convergent zone activity and even some lower elevation snowfall, kind of hit and miss nature of it here, but we have convection possible as well. Very strong winds. You can see them ripping across the area here, and the low pressure moves off. Arctic high segs south across British Columbia here. Then we look off into the extended, and you can see the powerful frontal system looks like it's going to be rolling in here sometime on the day, Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, and that's going to push through across the area with some very strong winds as well, and then some deep lows probably out over the Gulf of Alaska at that point. We'll continue to watch that day by day and break it down. Here's the European on the left versus the GFS on the right. Both 12Z runs hot off the presses. We're looking at 5,000 feet, 850 millibars here. And you'll clearly see that Arctic air start to sag across British Columbia here as we go through Sunday. These strong frontal system really gets rolling in here. Good model agreement. Lots of cold air aloft. And you can see that cold air is going to spill out, pick up that moisture, and again, get the Pacific Ocean snow machine really rolling here as we go on in through Monday. And you can see that Arctic air trying to make its way down into BC. How much of that is going to spill out here? It's it's going to be a big determining factor on just how low some of the snow levels get here across western Washington, southwest BC, as it then wraps quickly back around into the Cascades. Not showing too much of a headway here on the European. The GFS shows that Arctic air a little bit further south there, so still a little bit of model disagreement on how far south that Arctic air is going to get. But if we scroll off into the future here again, look at all this cold air that spills out over the Gulf of Alaska. Good model agreement with it as well, and this is going to blast back into the west coast, could affect anywhere from BC all the way down through California here. There's windstorm potential out here across the Gulf of Alaska as well, so pretty active pattern will continue. I mean, look at this very cold Arctic air, even for Alaska standards, will be just absolutely pouring off the coastline out over the Gulf of Alaska. This is going to be fun to watch over the next few days, and this is what's going on when you spill that cold air off the coastline of Alaska over the relatively warm ocean. Puget Sound, or the Pacific Ocean, is not that warm across the Gulf of Alaska, but compared to the air aloft, it is quite warm. And then you can see that warm air rises, you get clouds, and of course you get precipitation. Then you slam it back into the mountain ranges up and down the west coast, and you can produce huge, bountiful snowfall amounts across the higher terrain. So looking at the European, the 12Z run, let's put this into motion. You can see some precipitation going on as we go through today into tonight. And then we swing this frontal system arriving into BC as we go through the day tomorrow. Look at that precip, heavy at times, especially in the form of snow across the Cascades of Washington. Then eventually moving down Sunday night and on in through Monday morning across the Oregon Cascades, the Rocky Mountains of Idaho and Montana, as that cold air mass starts to settle down over British Columbia. And on the day Monday, we're going to have some interesting convergence zone activity ongoing, probably as early as even Sunday night onto Monday morning, kind of bouncing around the area here. Could briefly drop the snow level down towards the surface for some areas. So we'll be watching that closely, and then you can kind of see the residual showers going on through Tuesday morning. Then we get another system starting to roll in here, a potentially powerful frontal system. Could bring some locally windy conditions as we go on in through Tuesday night into Wednesday, and some more cold air spilling down like we talked about out over the Gulf of Alaska, and some low pressure systems out there are going to keep things active here across the Pacific Northwest. So looking at total snow in inches in the National Blended Models, we're always starting to pile it up here as we go through tonight, and then through tomorrow you'll see that frontal system arrive, and the heavy snow starts getting going here by the time we get towards late Sunday night into Monday morning, all the way down the Oregon Cascades here as well. And you see a little bit of that teasing out here across some of the lower elevations with some of this very cold air aloft, picking up that moisture, and some convection could drop that snow level down briefly at times. But once the snow stops, we're probably going to go above freezing for any location. So we're not expecting widespread icy roadways or anything like that. However, across the mountains and the passes is going to be a different story. If you want to travel, do it today, because it's going to get wild across I-90, Highway 2, and across the passes of Oregon as we go on in through the day Monday also. And then you can see with that low pressure off the coastline here, we're going to get additional rounds of precipitation in the form of snow across the higher terrain, especially as we go on into the extended. And some of the models are hinting at some lower elevation snowfall possibly as well, but we'll worry about that as we go. It's still too far out in the future, and there's too much to talk about to get caught up in fantasy snowfall amounts just yet. So looking at 24 hours running total here on the snowfall, you can see the big amounts incoming here as we go through Sunday night, coming down the Oregon Cascades. You can see some of this convergence zone activity showing up here. So when it coats the road briefly out there, it can get kind of crazy. Even if it only drops a half an inch, it can seem pretty wild. And you can see it's targeting some of the I-5 corridor between Kelso and up towards Olympia here at times as well. We got a lot of cold air rushing in here. So there's probably going to be some lower elevation snowflakes that are going to be seen as we go on in through Monday. Now, looking at total snow Kuchera ratio on the European, let's just scroll ahead through here, and you can kind of see how it's favoring areas up towards Snohomish County as well. Some very cold air moving down out of the northwest through the Strait of Georgia. Gonna be slamming back in here. Some convergence zone activity meeting up with the westerlies down the Strait of Juan de Fuca and the westerlies through this terrain feature known as the Chehalis Gap across Washington as well. Wild stuff incoming. You can't rule out a lightning strike or two with this as well. And then look at the European just absolutely hammering the Cascades as we go on in towards next Friday afternoon, and some teasing of some lower elevation snowfall as well. We'll watch those systems as they come in one by one. Still some model disagreement on how this is going to unfold. Now, taking a look at the wind speeds. So this is 100-meter wind speeds here, and you'll clearly see that frontal system arrive. Here we go on the day Sunday. Look at that westerly surge down the Strait of Juan de Fuca. Big winds for Whidbey Island. Could reach some of the coastal areas here across Snohomish County as well. Maybe Everett, and the big winds across the Cascades, eastern Washington, eastern Oregon. And look at all this northwest wind with that cold air just blasting into the coast here. And then that frontal system kind of moves down. Still some strong winds as we go through Tuesday morning. And then the next frontal system arrives as we go through Tuesday night. Look at that frontal system here, kicking up some winds here along the coastal areas. And even through the Puget Sound, it could get a bit windy here as well. We'll look at some of those wind speeds here in a moment. But again, another round of wind for much of the areas. You see the frontal system dropped on down to the south. Now, taking a look at lightning flash density potential, I just want to kind of speed ahead. Let's go to Monday here, and you can see some of this lightning potential start to exist as we go through Monday late morning into the afternoon hours across western Washington, western Oregon. Can't rule out a strike across eastern Washington as well. And look at that convergence zone activity. Is that are those northerlies going to get up there and set up somewhere around SeaTac and kick off a lightning strike? Maybe some thunder, snow pellets ongoing there. We'll see how that goes. But you might want to call ahead if you're traveling on Monday out of SeaTac Airport and watch that convergence zone. Now we're looking at 80-meter wind speeds. I want to kind of highlight that Strait of Juan de Fuca wind surge coming tomorrow. So you can see as we go into the late morning hours, you'll see that surge start to come. This is about noon here, 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock, you can see that blast down across some of the Strait of Juan de Fuca areas at Port Townsend out there, Whidbey Island, and then make its way, trying to get towards the coastline here along Snohomish County as well. So could be some local power outage with that. Some of them also been showing higher gusts, up into the mid-50s here as well. And there's going to be huge winds across the exposed areas of the higher terrain of the Cascades. So looking at Whistler, here's that first frontal system, and then the storm track is going to be pointed in the Pacific Northwest with additional snowfall amounts possible. Same thing for Mount Baker here, but better amounts likely. Look at this. The ensemble and the control are well up over 1.5 feet. And you can see additional rounds possible. Same thing for Stevens Pass, where it could be locally windy at times as well, up over 1.5 feet most likely. And then additional rounds as we go through the week. And this is Stevens Pass. Look at that latest control at 48 miles per hour here. Some of the ensembles up towards 50. And then again, breezy and windy with the next frontal system that rolls through next week. Snoqualmie Pass, big snow incoming as well, probably up over 1 foot, and some gusty conditions up there also. So it's going to be difficult travel on Sunday. You're going to want to do your travel today or put it off, because tomorrow is not the time to be going out there, especially through the afternoon and the nighttime hours. And Mount Hood a little bit later. Of course, the further south you go, as that frontal system moves from northwest to southeast, and this is Crater Lake down through southern Oregon. A decent round of shot of snowfall here, and potentially more as we go through next week. Seattle-Tacoma, with the initial wind tomorrow, we're looking at just some gusts, maybe mid-30s here, so nothing too crazy. We're not looking at any big windstorm for Seattle or for Portland, just some blustery conditions. But then we have the potential for some gusts up over 40 miles per hour. It could cause some local power outages here. But right now, we're not looking at any big windstorm on in through next week. That low-pressure center got taken away in some of the most recent model runs here. It just shows up in the sign of a strong frontal system right now. So we could still be windy in some local areas. Here's Spokane. You can see Sunday system here, and then we go on to next week. Again, another blustery system there. So 6 to 10 day, here we go, below average for much of the West Coast. 8 to 14 day, nothing has changed there. And the snowpack is definitely going to love this snow incoming here, so hopefully we can even overperform and really dump a lot of snow across British Columbia, where we're not doing too hot. Many areas below 50%. And same goes for Washington, not doing too well. A little bit better than BC, and Oregon doing better than both of those. But northern Idaho and Montana not doing too well either. So hopefully we can really ramp up that snowfall across the higher terrain. And I showed this yesterday. Canada really needs some rainfall and some snowfall here. There's a lot of severe and extreme drought, and this can be an area where we bring a lot of smoke down into the Pacific Northwest during the summer months. So hopefully we can be improving on that the next couple of months. North American Drought Monitor shown there. So yeah, interesting stuff. I may go out chasing tomorrow, but I will do my normal briefing tomorrow morning, and we'll keep watching this together. We'll see how this unfolds. And if you want to go on social media yesterday, you'll no doubt see a whole bunch of posts. I did a post about it here too, as well as the number 7 appearing there in the visible satellite imagery. It's kind of an anomaly there, and you can see the 6 there as well. But anyway, I hope you guys are liking these videos. If I go out chasing tomorrow, I'll try to live stream also. So hopefully you guys can join along for that. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good day.